we want to
We'll
do
do
that
that.
incrementally, right? Okay, yeah.
Yes, we'll do it.
Well, I didn't finish watching the Saturday session yet. Oh.
Okay.
Yeah, I was doing, I got caught up with
So Saturday,
yeah.
right, no problem. Okay. Any questions, Alpana, from the previous session, or Saif, or even Mark for that, even before that?
Yeah, it's regarding that previous and peak.
Yeah, tell me.
Actually, I have seen what result you were getting. No, like if salesman means if first column, if the column is not having the data, previous was taking only the previous data, and if then again the next value was null, it was not taking anything because it was because previous value of that value was null. Okay. But the thing is, in my case, what it is happening is, it is repeating the value which has taken from the previous value, both in peak and previous. It is taking the previous value, plus again displaying the another column, another row with the salesman ID, but with data null, both sides. Like in data and new data, both are null. Like for example, you have taken the third row, you take 462109, that data is null, okay, and corresponding value 45 has come, right, new data.
Right.
It has taken from the before one column, row. But the thing is, in my case result, no, how it is coming, it is displaying another row with 462109. With both the rows of data and new data is blank.
Okay, that's right.
Maybe you didn't do the order. Did you order the data?
Even though if I do order, the same column will, the rows will go down, that's all.
Actually, are you using the similar kind of script?
Yes, same.
Oh, really?
Can you share your screen now?
Yeah, I can do that.
I'll make you the presenter.
That's the weirdest thing I've ever seen in my life.
Okay.
1 second. Can you see my screen now? I have accepted. And now?
Now we can see that. Yeah.
Now can you see the difference? Like I have given sample data, previous example and peak example.
Can you go back to your script file basically?
You want to see the script file? Okay, here. This is for the previous.
Okay. No, you're doing both in the same script, right? So that's what is happening is in the back end. So 1 second, hold on. So in the back end, if you go to the table viewer.
Okay.
So it has formed a synthetic key. That's why you're getting that resultant table as that. So just say okay. Just qualify these tables, you will be always. So just, before this test one, this the first page test, just put qualify star on the here first page. Yeah.
Peak or main page?
Main page. Just put qualify star. Semicolon.
Okay, semicolon. Uh-oh.
Yeah, just reload now. You loaded two different tables. Now what has happened is the synthetic key is formed. The resultant table that you're seeing is a join. No, just go ahead and change the names. So right click on that box, previous example.
Okay.
Now see, these are two separate tables. Just say okay.
Okay.
And right click on previous, go to the properties of that previous example. Here only. So remove those fields that you have updated over there. So those are not available now. So now you will have to update data. So that's the peak, I think. Okay, for previous, I think the name is test, right? You gave the test. So you use the test, dot date, all those three fields.
Okay.
Say load order. No, just say load order.
I'm
Load
sorry.
order. Good, okay.
Load order.
Now here in peak, you just bring those data dot salesman ID and the other fields.
Okay. Sorting. Yeah.
No, you have the right kind of data. Yeah. So your previous example is not really the right way of. You just go to the script. Yeah, go ahead, say okay.
Reload again or okay.
No, it's okay. Not necessary. You just cancel this, cancel this. No, it's okay.
Which one you are
In the
talking about?
bottom you have okay. No, in the bottom you have this okay, right? Okay button.
Yeah.
You can use it.
Yeah.
Okay, okay. Now I understand what. Okay, okay. Now because you are qualifying, right? So your peak is not exactly working the way it has to work. So can you just go back to the script and say data.new data?
Which one?
Go to the peak. Go to peak. Yeah.
Okay.
So where you have the peak function, right? So just update data.new data.
Oh, okay. I got the point. But it's still not taking.
It's kind of weird. In the first row.
I think it has taken peak here and previous here.
That's no, that's the previous one. The previous example is correct. Test.data.
Yeah.
Peak one, I am not sure why it is not working. Maybe you can try it out in another QEW document.
Okay.
To kind of stage why it is not working there. So,
Okay.
so without the qualify, just try it out in another QEW. You should be
Okay.
able to do it.
Okay.
Yeah, take back the presenter and yeah. So last class, that's what we did. We did some peak previous and first value, second value, the declaring variables we saw. And we did couple of functions. So in the script editor, right? So in the bottom you have the data where you bring in all the data from various sources. Then you have the tab called functions. Under functions, you have all the functions that are used in QlikView. Now, among these functions are categorized. So all these functions have aggregation colors. And based on the category of these functions, they've been categorized. Well, what they exactly do. Now, whenever you use this, like for aggregation functions, so aggregation functions is nothing but that function that reduces the number of rows. So sum of all these things. So that is, you'll have to use this by group by order by. So maybe you can practice it. Now there are others. We were looking at counter, conditional, rate, then exponential and logarithmic. So you can use if you have any calculation with log, square root, then file. Now there are a couple of functions which are useful in the script, yeah, and there are which can't be used in the script. Those functions can be used only in the UI. So there are functions which are only in the script, they can't be used in the UI. So over here all the functions are listed. So like file attribute. So this majorly is used in the UI. You can use it in the script. Suppose you want to pass the file name into a table, file name into a variable, file size, you can use these. So create time, all these attributes. Then there is financial, like core financial functions. I'm not going with individual one of them because like whenever you have a requirement, you can go through them. I'm just going to give you the overview of most important functions. Now formatting is one function, but date function generally other places it's more like creating a date. Over here it is used for formatting. So you can use a date. Suppose you want to format a date. So you have an order date. You just want to format this. So you can use date. You can say month, year, or you can just say day, year. As date. Right. So you can use this date formatting function is basically for these kind of formats. So there is date, there is interval, there is money, there is number, timestamp. There is dual. A dual is like QlikView can store dual values for two things. What happens is, so you can do something like this. Dual month of order date. Now month of order date will always return the text value of it. Jan, Feb, March, April, May, June, July. It will return like that. And num of month of order date is going to return the month number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So up to 12 months. Now QlikView can store this as QlikView will store both as the values for the field month details. So it will have the text also, it will have the numeric value also. It's a very important kind of innovative solution in QlikView. So basically you declare dual two fields. One is whatever your text field. So if you look at the parameters over here, right, it says dual, text and number. So first is you'll have to declare what is the text value of the field and what is the numeric value of the field. So it is storing dual data type for both the fields. Now where does it help us? It helps us in calculation. Now suppose I take the field list box. I'll take the field month detail. Now it is displaying Jan, Feb, March, April, right? Now if I convert this to a numeric field, right, it will display 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So both the same field has both values, right? The reason being, the interesting part being, when you want to do some mathematical calculation on month, right? Jan, Feb, March, April, you want to do some mathematical calculation. You will end up doing two fields separately, one text, one number. In QlikView, you don't have to do it. You can just declare that as a dual, and the field will have both the values. It's a very interesting and a very advanced function. Yeah, generally I don't do that in my training, but I'm just updating. I think because you guys have already a lot of experience, so you can utilize this kind of advanced functions. It's a very interesting function. This is not only for month and numbers. So over here I've demonstrated month and number. So you can use like customer ID and customer name, salesperson ID and salesperson name, territory ID and territory name. Right? You don't have to have two fields for territory number and territory name. So you can declare one number, one field. Wherever you call for territory, it'll okay, let's just try that out. So over here I have the territory and the territory name. So I'll just say dual. First I'll have to give the text value and the territory as territory. By default, it's going to show us text. When I convert it to a number, it will give me the number. Right, it says northeast, southeast. Now I go to the number, I format it as number, and this is 2 and 5, because both the values are stored in the same field. Generally it doesn't write. Suppose if I take only that name, so I have something called as territory name, right? So this is not dual. This territory name is not dual. If I convert this to numeric, it's just going to show me some junk values. It's not going to take. So though I'm converting it to number, so here I've gone to the properties override. I'm saying integer format. It's not converting because the corresponding numeric or that is not available. Right? So that's the dual functionality. Right? So that comes under formatting. Then there is interval. Interval is basically a time interval between two dates. It's not difference between two dates. It's difference between time. Then money is to format money. Number to format number. Time is for time and timestamp is for date and time. So there is a difference. So whenever you want to format only time, right? Suppose you're getting data from a file from some log from database server which has only time column. So if you want to format that, you use time function, time over here. If you want the timestamp, suppose your field has both date and time, so you use timestamp to format it. Then generic, numeric, all these things like not that commonly used, but round, floor. There's no ABS. There's FABS. So there's no direct absolute. There's FABS. For floor will give you the whole number part of a decimal number. Suppose it's 2.1. If you use floor, it will always give 2. Even if it is 2.9, it will give you 2. If you do round, there's no round up, round down. It's basic round. So if you give round, it will just based on that mathematical logic, right? Below 2.5, it's 2. Above 2.5, it is 3. So that logic it will apply and it will do a round. Then inter record, we saw the exist. We saw the peak. Field value is something like you can just pass the value, field name, and the element number. It's like index. So you can just say field name, okay, this particular field, this particular row, element number is the row, and you get the value. Field value count is like how many values are there in the field. Logical, each number, each text is there, logical. Mapping, we saw the apply map. Constants, E. Null is null, number. Yeah. Now, what we saw over there was formatting. Similar to that, we have number interpretation. Wherever you see this hash, right? Date hash, interval hash, money hash, number hash. Now, what happens is when you're loading data from your data source, your date or your data might not be interpreted by QlikView as its own format. For example, ship date might be interpreted as a text value, right? It might be interpreted as an alphanumeric or text value, which is not being analyzed as date. So you can use date hash, force QlikView to convert or understand ship date as a date, and you can apply the format that you want it to take. It's like forcing QlikView, telling QlikView that, okay, this is a date, please read this as a date value. Like forcing QlikView to convert it to a date. So date hash does that. So whenever you have you're seeing anywhere your dates are not being loaded as dates in QlikView, they're loaded as text values, then you can use this date hash to force QlikView to understand date. Date hash, interval, money, num, text, time, all these things. Forcing QlikView to understand it's an interval, forcing QlikView to understand it's money, forcing QlikView to understand it's a numeric, or text, or time, or timestamp. range, we did range over here. It's only the previous that is really workable in script that we saw, but the other range count, range average, all these are typically the UI functionality. So where you can, I mean, range most probably is used in the UI. Under string, you have couple of them. So you have capitalize, similar, like it will just capitalize the first letter of multiple words if you have a string. Character will give you the resultant character, numeric evaluate, find one off. Hash is basically finding out the numeric value of that. I mean, there's a conversion. So 128-bit, 160-bit, and 256-bit. It is very rarely used. I mean, if you want, you can probably test it out. So length, keep character, repeat, purge. I think there's nothing really important over here. So system will give you information about all the system, author, number of reports, message box, document path, document name, table. This is more the UI functionality, trigonometric functions. So those are like couple of the most important ones that I went through. So dates are the most important one. So if you want to look at the previous session recording, you can look at it. So using the dates, right? So you can call for the dates and understand, okay, how do you create this? So always create a master calendar and use it for all your analysis. Those are our functions. Now, coming to incremental load in QlikView. Let's go to our first. So I was telling this right now. So this is our database, our QVDs and QEW. Okay, we'll leave the QEW for now. We'll just concentrate on the QEDs. So let's put the QEDs here, and we have the QEW. Okay. Now we have a QEW extractor, right? So this is our extractor file. Now at the QEW level, application level or data model level, it is always a full refresh. So we are not going to discuss that about it. So it's like a normal full refresh. The only incremental that you can build is at the QED level. So you have the database file, you have the incremental, I mean you have your QEDs. On this you build the incremental. Now how do you build the incremental load? So you have the database. So you started day one, okay, 1,000 records. You went through the extractor file, okay. Extractor file loaded it, created QED for 1,000 files, 1,000 records. So this becomes QED1, QED. Now your extractor file is going to extract 1,000 lines from day one QED, from the day one database, and it's going to extract and store that into QED. Now day two, what we do is, suppose if I have to extract, so you got day two, you got 100 lines more, so it became 1100. Suppose I spend over here 5 minutes to load, or for a very, I'll just take 1 hour to load this. Now 1100 records, again I will have to spend around 1 hour 5 minutes, right? One hour 5 minutes kind of a scenario to load this 1100, store it to QED. Now our optimization, the incremental logic in QlikView is, how to avoid this 1 hour 5 minutes and how to avoid querying the 1000 rows records that are already existing in a QED. So what QlikView does is, so in QlikView we use not exactly the data warehousing incremental concept, but a little different. The extractor file from the database is going to spend 5 minutes and extract the 100 records that came in new, okay? And then from what QlikView will do is, from the already existing QED, so this is an already existing QED, right, which has 1000 records, it will also bring the 1000 records into this same extractor file. So this is our extractor file. It is bringing the 100 records from the database, okay, and this 1000 records from the already existing QED. And finally, using concatenating both this 100 and 1000, it is creating 1100 records into a new QED. There is no concept of adding this 100 to this old QED. I mean, technically, overall concept is that incremental concept is absolutely that you are creating one QED with the new data. But in QlikView, the actual background is, first day you created one QED, 1000 records. Second day you take the new records or updated, deleted, whatever records from the database, bring the old records from the existing QED, concatenate both, append both to each other, and store that into a new QED. Now this QED, you can name it as a new QED, or you can just replace the old QED, so that existing. So day 2, you will have only this QED. So this is day 2. Now day 3, you got 500 records, 1500 records, that's 400 new records. So you bring the 400 new records from database, the already existing 1100 from the QED, and store it to a new QED. So it becomes 1500. So this process will continue. For the first time, you always do a full reload. Day 1 is a full reload. And day 2 onwards, you just extract the new records from the database and use the existing QED. Now, where is the optimization is the biggest question. Now, this 1 hour is spent loading it to a QED, right? And you know that the extractor file is a QEW file. QED to a QEW is not going to take you more than 1 or 2 minutes because of the optimization. So technically, you will be spending 5 minutes to extract new data, 1 minute to load the old data from the QED. Overall time taken will be 6 minutes. It is anyways better than 1 hour, spending 1 hour and extracting the old records, right? And obviously, you will not be putting the load on the database for continuous extraction of the old records. So that's the concept of incremental load. Do you understand, or is there any confusion?
Okay. Yeah. Okay. From there, now we have a 1,000, and in this day 2 we have a 1,100. But out of that 100, it's not 100 records. Maybe 100 is new records, but out of 1,000 from day 1, something has changed, and something has deleted. Let's say some record was deleted and some record has been modified. Does this incremental, you want to cover that one as well? The kind of incremental loading as well?
Yeah, that has to do with the scripting. I'm just explaining you the concept of how the incremental works. So if you're clear with that, then we'll go to the scripting part as to how to handle those changes and how to manage those things.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
So this concept is clear?
Yeah, it's clear.
Yeah.
So this is the day 1. So what we'll do is, so you'll have to always create 2 scripts. So this is the day 1. Go to the file. Events table. So this is our events table, right? I'm just gonna load this. Finish. I'm just gonna simply type .qvd. Okay. So this is our first day 1. Reloaded, 60 lines created, the QVD is created. Now second day, so this is the first day. First day script, I'll just comment it out. Okay. Now the second day, day 2 onwards, right, or daily load. Over here what we are going to do is, first bring the new records from the Excel file. Table file, events table, embedded, finish. Right. Now in my events table, like in your database table or anywhere to do incremental load, right, you need to have a timestamp. Okay. First thing is a timestamp. Second thing, either you need to have a sequential number. Suppose event ID is 1 to 60, right? So you know that, so there are 3 kinds of changes, right? One is adding only new data to the existing data. Second is adding or deleting data. Third is adding data, deleting data, and also changing data, right? Or even if you don't do delete, there might be changing data. So there are different kinds of changing dimensions. Now you'll have to decide on your data as to what it is. Now if it is only adding data, for sure you know that after 1 to 60, it is gonna be 61, 62, 63. You might not delete any previous records. That time you can use your primary key as event ID. Now in the case where there is going to be modification or changes in values in your data, I would suggest always have a modified date as your identifier, which data was updated, which data was deleted, or which data was created, right? Using that you can easily identify. So let's, in my explanation, I'm going to use the modified date. So my modified date is my identifier. Beyond that, any particular modified date, for me it is all new records and everything. So in my data, now I'll just take this as 1221 is the highest value. So I'm just going to take the date and give the value over here. I'm going to say where mod date is greater than or equal to, I think greater than only, right? It's not equal to, greater than 2/21/2012. Now let's see. Now I have not given any new date. So even table fetch 4 records. How can it fetch 4 records? I think there is some dates which are greater than that. Let's just confirm. Okay, there are dates till 22nd of February. I'm just gonna modify that date to greater than 22nd. Right. Now what happens is 0 lines fetched. Technically there was no new records that were updated. That's why. Now let's see what happens if I update some new records. I'm gonna use the same sequential number. Right, so I will update exactly 5 records to begin with, and update after 22nd, 23rd, 24th, 25th, 26th, and this I think I can just take this and boom and update this. I've updated my database table. I'm just saving it as yes. Reload QlikView. So day 2, 5 new records were updated. It is done. Now what happens is, now my day 2 records are coming beyond 22nd. Now I have to create a new QED, right, with the old records also. So I will have to refer it back to the existing QED. So this event stable QEDs are there, right? Event stable QED. So I'll have to take the old data QlikView's primary property. The moment it sees two fields, two tables with exactly common field names, it will just concatenate the data automatically. In case even if it is not, you have one field extra here there and you still want to concatenate it, or be sure, just use the field concatenate. QlikView is not going to do anything, it's just going to append data, right? So it doesn't matter to QlikView whether it's top or bottom. Either you can read the events table first, then read the incremental data from the database second, or you can do vice versa. Now in my QED, I'm not going to give any value. I'm just going to say this. Now this events table, I'm going to store it as I'm going to put this as events.events2. Right. So what happens is day 2 it will execute, bring the 5 records from the database, 60 records from the table, concatenate both, end result is 65 records. It is stored into a new QED events table. If I just name the QED with the same name, it's going to replace the old QED. So I will always have only one QED at any given point of time. So my new QED will be 65 records. At any point I want to reload, do a full reload, I will have to uncomment the day 1 query and reload it. Otherwise, just comment the day 1 and continue with the incremental logic. Right. This is the concept overall. Now you have to automate this. Right. Now I know that in my events table, the last date that is updated is 2/26/2012. You have to automate this, right? So what we do is either we use a reload stamp. So whenever it reloaded, we create a stamp. Or the best way to do it is max date load from the existing QED. Right. So this is my QED. I'll show you from my existing. So events table 2 is my existing, right? So I'll say finish. Instead of anything else, I'll just say max of mod date. Nothing else I'll do. As max date. Now I'll say let max date is equal to peak max date 0 comma which table, temp table, top table. So this is the best method to find out max date. So what I'm going to do is I'm using an aggregation function max of mod date from the events table. So it's just going to give me the maximum mod date from this table and it's going to pass that single value. So this is going to return only single value from one particular date. It's going to pass it to max date. From that max date, I'm peaking it, passing the date value to the variable. Now this variable, I'm going to call it here. That's all. Now my process, the whole process is automated. I'll just save this. I'll reload. So technically it gave me the max date 26. Beyond 26 there are 0 records updated. So from that events table, actually it's taking from the old QED itself. So it has to take from the new QED. What I'm going to do is I'm going to update this as 2. Right. Over here it's 2. So 5. there is nothing beyond 26 updated, so it's fetching the 65 lines from the events table 2, and it fetched one line, that is the date. Now if I go ahead and update more values.
What?
I'll update the new record.
Okay. Who said that?
And after 26.
Why you up anyway?
Oh, the up. She FaceTimed me. You woke me up.
I'm going to sleep upstairs. 10 o'clock.
So
Night.
I know.
Night.
Muted.
now that I have updated this, I'll update this. So technically I've updated 5 records again. Save. Go to my incremental testing. Reload. So I had updated 5 records, so I picked up 5 records, added to the old 65, so the final became 70. Right. So now my incremental is automatically taking the date, the values that are updated, and how. So if you want to see a bigger chunk of it, I can see. Can say 10 records after March 2nd. I save this. Right. So 10 lines fetched, old 70 plus 10, 80. So I've got the total as 80. Questions?
Yes.
So this is one bit of it. Yeah, good.
Unmuted.
Suppose you have a table that doesn't have any dates on it, and we don't have any sequential, number on it. How are we going to deal with it?
Yeah, I don't think so you can do an incremental on that kind of a data. Not only in QlikView. I think generally, unless you have an index, so index can be anything, any sequential number or date. That is the only point you can do an incremental in any tool, as far as I understand. So
Yeah, okay. The sequential number you can create, maybe an addition, add a column and deal with it. But if it doesn't have a date, how are we going to do it? There's no column for dates, for example.
I use the sequential number. So basically, that's what. Either you need a sequential number or you need a date column. So either one of it is a mandatory for incremental load. It's not only in QlikView, it's like the overall general concept of incremental load. And yeah, if you have the numeric value, then you can go with the numeric, right? So
Okay.
in this load, you load it till 80. So you just make sure that you find out max of whatever this unique value is. And after that, whatever the values are updated. So please continue to load those values. So that's the logic that you can build. Now, the question is, how do we find out modified dates, right? So the changes, how do you take care of the changes? How do you update the QVD? So now, whatever old records that we are fetching from the existing QVD, we are just fetching it, right? we're not doing anything. Now what we do is, so let's take an example. Okay. So I'm just gonna say update table box and all. So I have the event ID. So I have event ID 14, 15, 16, or this 13, 14, which says open. So I will update this as closed, or I think full. So let's see how it gets updated. So I'll have to go to 13, 14, and here it is. So in the system, whenever you update, right? So as we'll say update full. That time we will have to change the date. So what we do is we'll update the latest change date. So that is nothing but, instead of 312, it is 313, right? Both 13, 14, I updated as full, and my logic became this. Now when I do the incremental load, so these are two changed records. With the two changed records, I'm just gonna update two new records. (13, 14). Updated on 13, then 14. Test 33 and 35. I'll just say full. Two new records and two updated records. Now what does QlikView do? So QlikView is gonna do is, using the date stamp, it's gonna bring 4 records. That is, 2 which have been updated based on the modified date, and 2 which are new. Now in my old data, I have the 13, 14, right? So I'm bringing this in from the QED, I'm bringing this. But technically, I don't want to have the 13 and 14. I'll have to drop the 13 and 14 from my old data, from my this existing QED. I should not bring the 13, 14. So how do I drop it? What I can do is, I can say where not exists event ID. Right. All I have to do is bring only those event IDs which are not existing here.
I find it very interesting actually. This is how you do.
This is how you drop those 3 records. Now what will happen is, now my events.qd has 80 records, right? So I will be loading only 78 records, because 2 records which are old one, because of this where not exist, will get dropped. So let's see that. When I reload it, so if you look at it, okay, I think 84 was there, so I dropped 2, it is 82 now. Now 4 records, only 4 records, and the remaining 82, close. Now if you go to 13, 14, it is updated as full. It was open, right? So it is updated as full. And the date also, you see, if you see, it's like 313, 313. And in the end, it is my 81, 82, which is updated, 13, 14.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah?
Hello? Yeah, okay, so how is it going to work well with the big data? Let's say we have 5 million rows, yesterday's data. All right. Then we got, let's say, about 100,000 new records, including modified records. So
right. It's
that kind
definitely
of,
gonna, yeah.
it's because they are optimized QVD files, so you should be pretty fast, to do.
Exactly, that's the whole point. So the QED, so this data is coming from QED. So this is your yesterday's data of 5 million records. This will load within a couple of minutes. So the new records of 100,000 records. Instead of loading the 5 million from your database and spending 1 hour, 2 hours, you load the same 5 million from your existing QED.
Yeah.
It is within a couple of minutes and you can do it.
So this is a typical way of handling the incremental loading in QlikView. Or is there any other techniques that being used out there?
Right.
Or
No, this is off. This is the incremental load.
Okay. So this is the most recommended or usually typically is done in.
Yeah, this is the only method for incremental load basically.
Ah, is it? Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I can see the concatenate. That function is because it's automatically putting join the two tables. I can see that how it can be so interesting. Yeah.
Right.
It's a lot simpler than I thought. The way you handle it in QlikView.
Yeah. So the next is a deleted record.
I have a question.
Yeah.
The 1314 even ID, we have not changed the even ID number, right? We have modified the dates of that. And how the where not exist has worked on that? We have just updated it.
You remember what where not exist does, right? So what where not exist does is, if this table, so if the whatever is in memory, so forget this table, this concatenate table. Before this table, whatever event ID is uploaded in the memory, suppose there are 4 event IDs. One is 1314 and 8182, right? Now these are 4 IDs that are there. Now if I use where exist, it's just going to bring whatever values matching to this. When I use where not exist, it will bring the values which are not matching to the values that are existing in memory. So that's why I have told where not exist event ID. So from the database, I got 1314. From the QED, when I said where not exist event ID, from the QED it dropped the 1314 record because it was matching the record. So where not exist dropped that record. So once it dropped it, I just got the actual 78 records plus 4, it became 82 records.
Okay.
So this where not exist is what we saw. No? I mean, where exist we saw. So you just put where not. Where exist is going to bring the matching records. Where not is going to bring the not matching records.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So they get dropped when the concatenation happens, right? Take place.
No, they are dropped when this table is read. So concatenation just does concatenate. Yeah. When this table is being read, right, when the data is being read from the QED, that is when they get dropped. They are not read only. They are not extracted at all. So it is dropped with using where not exist. Then it gets concatenated to the events table.
But as my colleague said, we did not touch the event ID.
Yeah, we didn't touch the event ID.
We just touched the record. I think that, I understood that the concatenation happened. The record are different. Is why it get dropped.
No, yeah, we didn't touch the full and only these two, right? So what QlikView did was, from the main table, so it brought in from the database table. So from the database table, it brought in these records, 13, 14, and the last one.
So the question is,
so
why is it dropping? Based on what?
Now, 1 second.
Okay.
So this is from the database. So this query, this is from the database. Okay. My old data record has 80 records, right? Has the old 80 records from my QED file. Has all the records which has even the 13, 14. But when I do a load, what QlikView does is, from the QED, let's load the QED somewhere so that you guys can understand. So this is a QED record. So this file has around 80 records. So if I reload this, okay, this one is my old QED. Let's say, now anyway, so from my database, it brought in these 4 records. From the existing QED, when I use where not exist, it will bring the records apart from 13, 14, 81, 82, it will bring all the other records. So technically what it is doing is, it's gonna go till here, it's not gonna bring 13, 12, then it's gonna go from 15 till all the others, it's not gonna bring 81, 82. So now in my, from the QED file, I've got only 78 records. From the new file, I've got the 4 records. Both of this put together, it will make a 84 records. So this where not exist itself drops the records. Then the concatenate adds both of these 4 and 78 and makes it 84.
Okay.
So that's
okay.
what this
No, that's good explanation actually. Yeah, very.
So this is what it does. So the where not exist, depending on what values are in memory, it will drop those values. Alright, what I would suggest is go ahead and practice. I'll quickly send you this events file. Okay, and I have to send you other Excel files too.
Can I have a quick question?
And
Very
then
quick
probably
question.
tomorrow we'll see the delete. Yeah.
Yeah. So okay, let's because we, as you know, we are education based because as we are web-based education company, we have about a lot of students doing a lot of activities. So the activity result table we have is growing like every day, a lot, right? So let's say every day like we have 100,000 records, 100,000 records. Daily base is growing substantially as we increase our number of subscription as well. Now, for this incremental loading, I want to say at the moment we have about 500, more than 500 million records. Now, what would be the best way to store in QED? Should I split it into multiple files? Would you recommend to have a one big file? And then for incremental loading, I think I can have like old and new, or old and current activity result, current activity result yesterday or previous. So I have the, so like we say we have event 1 and event 1, table 1 and 2. I think I can have the same concept, but would you what would be the best way to work with the big table? Like, would you separate those tables, the QED file into, let's say, week 1, week 2, week 3, week 4, have a split into multiple QED file, or would you rather have a one big file for incremental loading? Yeah, am I clear?
Yeah, I mean, it's not like it. See, technically for, like I said, incremental loading is only for the QED level. So,
Okay.
I mean, if you want to change, suppose all your data, if you break up into 10 different QEDs, and you are sure that the last 9 QEDs you will not be changing any data, then it is okay to break up into 9 QEDs. But if you are sure that the 9 QEDs, the previous first 9 QEDs, there is gonna, you'll have to, if you have static data which is not gonna change over time, then create separate QEDs based out of time. If you have data which is gonna be changing over period, so create one QED so that you can build the incremental logic. And at the QEW level, I don't think so it's make any difference. So whether you create one QED or 10 QEDs, it's the same logic.
Oh, is it? But can you demonstrate like multiple QED incremental loading? Because I can't really picture it. So when you load, like, let's say we have.
You can't do a multiple QED incremental loading. That's what I was telling.
Okay.
So if you have QED1, QED2, QED3, so there's no point creating 3 different QEDs and then doing incremental load for everyone.
No, not everyone.
Rather
Let's say
than
only for the 3. Only 3.
No, everyone is like. So over here we have 3. So
increment is only happening QED 3, number 3 only. So QED 1, 2, 2 will be static. Always going to be same. Static, and then changing, modifying, something happening.
yeah, then you don't have to worry, right? So it is the same logic that we worked today. So it's one file. So that's what I'm telling. So this is the one file. So whatever we did today is what you apply on this file. So this file you will not be touching. So these will be static, created separate. So you build this entire logic. Instead of events 2, you use QED3. Instead of events table, you use the database. So
Because what I want is,
these don't have any play.
Yeah, but then the naming, the thing is, I want to make it, how to say, dynamic, not static naming. Let's say now you have 1, 2. I know it's one of the 1 or it's 2, then it's okay. But it's one of your dynamic. Let's say maybe I could name the file based on like a academic year. So 2011, 2012, 2013. So is there a way I can actually load this QED file? Like, okay, if you have a look at this folder, again, give me a list of file names and then load based on whatever is listed in there, something like that. Do it make sense? I want to be more dynamic loading here. I don't know how many event table. Yeah, I don't know how many event table we wanna have, but we wanna be the number is growing, all right? I want to pick up the last one.
Yeah, but you'll have to have some. You'll have to have some logic of breaking these QEDs, right? Either you break it by week wise, or you break it by region wise. Some logic that you'll have to apply, and then use that in your programming. So you know the variables that we created, right? Just like this. So we put where peak off. We are trying to find the max date. You'll have to write some script like this, which will find out, okay.
And also I can
your current rate.
Okay. And also I can include in the from query there, like see the address. I can actually apply that one there as well. Okay.
Exactly.
I can variabilize that one too. Okay. Yeah.
Right. So this event 2, so you can variabilize this as, suppose I do this as let v file name is equal to 1. So what you can do is, you can just take this, okay, sorry, it's 2. The file name has the value 2. So after the events table, you can just say $.
Oh, really? Can I do that? Okay.
Yeah. So
oh, that's very convenient. Oh, I thought I had to actually construct the entire string.
Right. So you can do that.
Oh.
Right. So you'll have to construct the entire string, pass it as anything. So you can pass anything as variable. So it's basically your programming. So I'm sure you have already done some kind of programming.
Okay.
So it's basically applying the entire logic and loading the data according to your system.
Can you go over the $sign concept in the next session?
Sure. I mean, it's very simple. Wherever you have variable, right? Whenever you can't pass a variable without a $. So you can't say v file name. It's not going to take it. Whenever you want to call a variable, you will have to use a $. That's all is the significance of $.
And bracket together always.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Always. Wherever you call. So here you see this. I call this variable. So I'm using $. Wherever you are calling the variable, you have to use the $ and the braces.
Okay. Yeah. All right. Okay. Thank you.
Yeah. Go ahead and practice this. Maybe in the next session we'll do the delete option of incremental load, and then we'll see what the remaining topics.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you. Thank you.